Bulletcast for life.
Get up, this is a revolution. This is our time to rise. Look deep within your mind, look deep into the hate in my eyes.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to an all-new edition of the Bulletcast, episode 143. You might notice that things are a little different. Your boy Brandon Tanguma is taking over. I'm the host. We're doing things a wee bit differently today, but the co-host is still the same. My lovely co-host, he has all these isms. He has a laundry list of accolades that he has, and he says he's the Jimmy to the J and the Matt and Nick and the tag teams, and he's like a 27-carat piece of gold or something. I don't know how old he is, but Phillip Antoine is on the other line. Phillip, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I got me a little liquid charisma going through my veins right now. It's not of the adult variety I would consume at night, but I got a little bang, a little Georgia sweet peach tea. So I'm doing all right, man. I'm ready to hand over the reins to you for this episode of the BC.
Well, speaking of the reins, the big dog teamed up with Daniel Bryan on SmackDown last Friday, which I already kind of forgot what happened. SmackDown viewership continues to take a nosedive. Phillip, why do you think that is the case? Why SmackDown is struggling to retain its viewers?
Well, man, it's a Friday night. People are out doing stuff, and I mean, I'm sure the kiddies that are home on Friday night, weekends you get to stay up late. I'm sure they're watching. But as far as the adults, they're out. They're either partying or just hanging out with friends, or people have date nights and stuff like that. When it was Tuesday, I know they sustained a stagnant number of viewers because people that got off work, they would kind of just turn it on for background noise or whatever, or if they had to cover it like us. But I really don't know, man. They had a very nice viewership. What was it, 3.4 the night they debuted on Fox with that anniversary show? But yeah, man, maybe Friday night wasn't the best deal for Fox to go forward with. Maybe they should have just stayed on Tuesday.
Maybe they should have stayed on Tuesday. This week they will be going to Fox Sports 1 because the World Series is going to be taken over on Fox. Possibly the new home for SmackDown if they keep drawing these abysmal ratings. But we will have to stay tuned to find out. So as I said, Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, the new best friends, teaming up against Baron Corbin and Nakamura. And of course the baby faces go over because Roman must pose, as the old host of this podcast would once say. Phillip, what'd you think about this whole thing? It started off with Reigns and Nakamura for the IC title. Then we had a little smudge with Baron Corbin with the run-in. Daniel Bryan makes the big old save, which leads to this tag team match in the main event.
Well, you know what? First of all, I just assumed Roman Reigns was going to walk out of that arena with the IC title. I was like, Nakamura's not really doing anything with it. And it's been quite a while since Roman's had some gold over his shoulder, so it kind of just made sense. I had heard rumors of interference in King Corbin doing that, so I thought that was a interesting deal. I don't know why Sami Zayn didn't just jump into this scene, but anyway, we get the tag match with Reigns, Bryan going over Corbin and Nakamura. I thought it was a fine way to end an episode of SmackDown, especially since SmackDown's going to become more of just the casual viewer show and no longer the hardcore wrestling show for WWE, so to speak, unlike I know we have NXT, but for quote-unquote main roster viewership, SmackDown has always been the wrestling show, but it was just a fine way to end the show.
I thought the show was meh. Maybe that's also a reason why the viewership isn't so good for SmackDown right now, just because I don't think the shows have been that good and they haven't really been pulling people in. But moving on, Miz TV with Bayley and Sasha. Bayley's first real segment after turning heel last week or 2 weeks ago. I get all confused because now we get the SmackDown last week, but technically, whatever. Bayley cuts an okay promo. I think it was maybe a little corny. Her and Miz go back and forth. Phillip, what'd you think about the first step in the Bayley heel turn?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. She looks like somebody's aunt. What's her real name? Pam? Yeah, her real name. She looks like Pam. She doesn't look like Bayley. She looks like Pam. No, I mean, we have to give it some time to really let this develop. I know if you've seen some live event pictures, she's put black tape over her lovable side plates on her championship. But yeah, she looks like somebody's aunt, man. I don't know. The new music's cool. The new look I'm gonna take a little bit time to get used to, but I need a couple weeks to see if it's gonna be a hero.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on the Bailey character. I'm hopeful that they'll go in the right direction with her and Sasha on the same brand being buddy buddy. I think Sasha is definitely the more popular act, so I'm thinking, maybe down the line, sooner rather than later, we're going to see Sasha maybe not turn face, but just Bailey turn on Sasha, and we can, because apparently everyone just turns babyface and heel. Like, look at Charlotte. She's turned a bazillion times, and no one really seems to care. So, especially with the women's division, the way it is, I think we're going to get Sasha and Bailey maybe at WrestleMania, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But speaking of that women's division, we got Nikki being the new number one contender to Bailey's SmackDown Women's Championship, defeating Dana Brooke, Carmella, Sonya Deville, Mandy, and Lacey Evans. No Alexa Bliss to be seen, but besides her, that's pretty much the entire SmackDown Women's division.
Yeah, wait, aren't the Iconics, aren't they on SmackDown?
The Iconics are on Raw.
Oh, that's right. I was so used to the wild card rule, I didn't remember. Yeah, but congratulations to Thicky Cross getting a little time to shine. I don't think she's gonna go over Bailey, but I think it's just a nice first step into this new Bailey character and a new challenger. I don't know, man. Who do you think is gonna be the one to take it off of Bailey eventually? Do you think Sonya Deville finally gets that shine?
Well, Sonya's been a straight fire on the Twitter machine these last few days. If you haven't been paying attention, definitely go look at her and Lacey Evans' little Twitter exchange. It's very very tasty.
Oh yeah, there was talk about swallowing. Yes, I've read these things.
Come on, Philip. You gotta silence the phone on the podcast.
I'm sorry.
That's why I'm the host now.
The BC hotline is just it's firing away. All the ring rats are trying to talk to your boy, but keep going.
Anyways, I think Nikki Cross, as you said, isn't going to beat Bailey. What I said a little earlier, I think maybe Sasha might be that person to take over Bailey's reign. But Sonya Deville, I think, is someone who I think a lot of people are kind of. I keep saying, she's very underrated. I called Becky Lynch. I was singing her praises for months or years, and then they finally listened to me. So maybe they're going to finally listen to your boy about Sonya Deville.
Well, they listen to you a lot on this episode of SmackDown with a certain rebranding of a superstar. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but Brandon, just keep it going, man.
You don't tell me what to do, Philip. I'm the host. I do it at my pace.
I apologize.
Pace?
I apologize.
Anyways, we get the New Day and Heavy Machinery taking on the Revival and Rudolph, that's Dolph Ziggler, and Bobby Roode or Robert Roode, whatever you want to call him. We get a nice backstage segment with Heavy Machinery and the New Day. Maybe a little hint, a little dog whistle for people of making a big deal about Kofi Kingston no-selling what happened to him at on SmackDown with Brock Lesnar. I was one of them, and he was asked about the power positivity. He says as long as he has the power positivity, he's perfectly fine. But if you look, he destroyed that poor pancake. So maybe a little dog whistle, maybe something that was in the script or just something that Kofi did on his own. Philip, what do you think that's going to lead to, if anything?
Anytime somebody loses a championship, especially when they've held it for the significant amount of time that Kofi did, you're not just okay. You don't just forget about it. I like how they kind of finally alluded to, hey, you were champ for 6 months and you lost it in like 6 seconds. How do you feel? A Kofi Kingston heel turn on the New Day? Nah, not possibly, especially with what's going on with Xavier. But I think we could possibly see a more aggressive side of Kofi Kingston. He can still have all the powers of positivity, the POP, hold it down, baby. But I think Kofi will start to get a little bit more aggressive in ring.
I think Kofi definitely might have a next chapter in his character arc. I do agree with you that maybe with the injury sustained by Xavier Woods, I think Kofi is probably going to move into the tag team division. I could see him, maybe possibly turning heel when Xavier comes back. I think him and SCU, SCU and New Day might be on similar tracks. Maybe Christopher Daniels might turn heel, the old veteran, because he might be a little salty about what's been going on lately. But we can get to that in another day. Kofi Kingston, I'm not hoping for a heel turn, but I'm definitely hoping for, a different little thing in his character. But The tag team match, New Day Heavy Machinery Revival, Dolph Ziggler, it's just promoting Blood Money 4 as they go to the biggest tag team turmoil match ever.
Yes, if you want to win tag team turmoil, if you have Shane McMahon on your side, you're guaranteed to win because that's where he became the best wrestler in the world. So if you want to be the best tag team in the world, you have to have Shane McMahon by your side. It just all makes sense.
Shorty Gable comes out to have a match against Curtis Axel, and he makes quick work of old B-Team Curtis Axel. Then Charlie Caruso comes and asks him to talk, and he says, basically he put over the bullies, saying it's, thank God for bullies, because if it wasn't for bullies, us short people, us, less fortunate, couldn't look inside of us and be able to, overtake everything. So, Shorty Gable really just put over the bullies, and bullies are the real heroes in the story. But anyways, he said he's not going to let the short jokes get to him, so he's going to be Shorty Gable, but maybe we should shorten that, and now he's Shorty G, which I completely rolled my eyes at. There was rumors that Shorty G was being trademarked and whatever back in the day, and people were like, oh, it's not going to be Chad Gable. I mean, come on, he's great. He's a fantastic wrestler. He has charisma. But here we are, and his name's Shorty G.
Wait, there were rumors about this?
Yes, I keep my ear to the ground, Philip. That's why I was saying Shorty G for the longest time.
I thought you were just being original. You were reading these dirt sheets?
It was more like YouTube, but...
I mean, this is the first I'm ever hearing of this. I thought you just made this up on your own. I thought, once again, they listened to the BC, but no, okay.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble.
It's been bursted all throughout this room. It's kind of on the walls, too. Oh, God.
I don't need to know what you do in your off times.
Moving on.
Braun Strowman takes on former Cruiserweight champion Drew Gulak and just makes him his you-know-what. It was a sad scene for the Cruiserweight division, and Drew Gulak, Braun Strowman runs right through him. They do a little comedy spot with Drew Gulak going to show him a PowerPoint presentation on how Braun Strowman can beat Tyson Fury, but Braun didn't take his advice and just beat him up and beat him in a match.
Yeah, I was looking forward. I missed the PowerPoint presentations that Drew Gulak used to do. I like how they did keep some elements of what he did on 205 Live and brought it to the quote-unquote main roster. I thought that was very interesting, but, it made Braun look somewhat legitimate yet again, beating a guy that just dominated the Cruiserweight division for the last couple months, so job well done in some aspects.
Not going to be not doing a whole lot for that Cruiserweight division down in NXT, but let's be honest, no one's really watching NXT, so who really cares? Moving on to outside the ring, we have After the Bell with Corey Graves debuting next week on October 30th. This is the first podcast under the podcast umbrella of WWE. Still don't know exactly what it's going to be, but Corey's going to be talking to wrestlers. He's going to talk about current storylines and everything. Who knows if it's going to be, kayfabe or not. The WWE Backstage show on FS1 was definitely a kayfabe-centric show, but who knows? Philip, are you going to listen to After the Bell with Corey Graves?
Yeah, I kind of have to, man. I think he's coming for my quote-unquote throne as the podfather of this digital media world. But I do, excuse me, I do believe the first episode he will be talking to Uncle Trips, Paul Levesque, the head honcho of NXT. I do believe he's on that inaugural episode, so that's going to be very interesting to listen to. The Endeavor WWE partnership is going to be very interesting moving on. Do you think we get Renee Young to have a podcast? I know she has her own personally, but do you think she gets one under the WWE banner?
I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Renee is a fantastic personality. She's great at hosting, and commentary, had a little bit to be desired. But I think if you're kind of looking at people to have podcasts, Xavier Woods having a gaming podcast, Renee Young doing a wrestling. I mean, I don't know exactly how this is going to work, because I think they kind of said that not all of these podcasts are going to be wrestling related. So maybe we can do, Renee Young can do a hockey podcast or wrestling podcast or whatever, and other wrestlers can do, non-wrestling podcasts. Maybe we get Talkin' Shop returning, but if it's under the WWE auspice, it's not going to be the same.
No, man, Talkin' Shop was great. Those boys had a lot of liquid charisma while they were doing that.
And that was all under the New Japan umbrella. Speaking of New Japan. I'm good at this, Philip, with these transitions. New Japan has announced that they have a new phase 3 of their expansion into the United States, and they're going to be having its own USA subsidiary, a territory system, whatever you want to call it. They've split it up into multiple parts: West Coast, Texas, Southeast, East, Midwest. New Japan's trying to take over America, Philip.
This is kind of a good thing and a fail at the same time. Here's why. A U.S. subsidiary, absolutely, that's great. But I think when they first started their U.S. expansion, I mean, look, they had a lot of their core guys who are now in AEW. They probably should have targeted the Northeast first. I know they came over here to the West Coast, and very appreciative to that because the West Coast is the best coast. But, I mean, you have Philly, Boston, New York, you have those core markets, even the Midwest like Chicago. You have those core markets that you could target first, and then make your way over here. Kind of like what AEW is doing. They're hitting like the Northeast and then the South, and then making their way over to the West. I think New Japan should have done that. And plus, I mean, they're trying to do bigger things. Like the first night of the G1, they didn't sell out the American Airlines arena, because I've been in that building. It's very huge, and they shouldn't have shot that big. There are other arenas in Dallas that are smaller that they could have come close to a sellout, if not selling it out entirely. But I don't know, man. Maybe they need to rethink some things and choose smaller buildings, because like when we went to that Cow Palace show, thing wasn't sold out at all. Maybe they need to choose smaller buildings and kind of work their way up.
I talked a little bit about this on my Under the Radar show that dropped on Tuesday. You can go listen to it, covering NXT's last week's television, and of course, Total Divas, where we got Mermaid Liv Morgan. But anyways, I digress. I mean, I kind of agree that it's going to be a challenge for New Japan to, I think, really get into that U.S. market. I think the West Coast was the reason they did the West Coast first, was because it's Japan, and just logistics wise it's a lot easier to fly to the West Coast than to fly all the way to the East Coast. But I mean, I think they're kind of hitting their ceiling right now with the New Japan American market. I mean, that LA show was super hot, it was great, and then as you said, maybe they kind of overshot the American Airlines arena. Maybe it's just because they got a brother discount with Mark Cuban owning the Mavericks and owning that arena, so maybe that's the reason why they did it there. But, I mean, we don't know a whole lot right now about what's going on. They have the New Japan Super Showdown shows, whatever they're called, in San Jose and in LA in 2 weeks, so I think we're going to definitely learn more about this project going forward.
Absolutely. That is also one of them is the same night as AEW Full Gear. Brandon will be in attendance for the New Japan show. I'll be at home watching my boy Cody potentially win the AEW World Championship.
I mean, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to see Jushin Liger's final U.S. match. It's going to be historic. Maybe I might shed a tear.
I might have to comp some tickets then. I've always been a Jushin Liger guy.
I've also been a Joey Ryan guy, and Joey Ryan has signed with Impact Wrestling. They had Bound for Glory this past weekend. They had some surprises. Kylie Ray made an appearance. Joey Ryan made an appearance, and he has signed with Impact Wrestling. He has been a slave to that Lucha Underground contract for such a long period of time. He's very closely tied with the AEW guys, but in the end, he returns to where he kind of made his first mark on the national scene with Impact Wrestling.
My streak continues. If I interview you or I even talk to you about an interview, you sign somewhere. I mean, look at Joey Ryan. I talked to him about it a couple years ago. Boom, he signed with Impact Wrestling. I'm good luck if you're in the wrestling biz, kids. No, but congratulations to Joey. He's kind of been very adamant about sticking to the indies. doing his bar wrestling, and I'm incredibly happy for him. That's where I first got a taste of Joey Ryan. When he was doing the real sleazy gimmick in Impact, about 8-9 years ago. But I'm incredibly happy for the guy. Can't wait to see what he does in Impact Wrestling.
Speaking of Impact Wrestling, the TNA name will return for one night only. Philip, I'm not completely sure about this, but this is WrestleMania weekend. They're going to have the TNA everything come back, correct?
Yeah, man. Exactly, one night only. Total non-stop action, one night only. They're inviting Generation Me and the Motor City Machine Guns to the show. Will they show up? We don't know. They're also inviting WWE talent who has worked for them in the past. Hey, maybe Eric Young shows up and he has a prominent spot in the wrestling world again. I don't know. But it should be fun.
Maybe EC3 finally gets a meaningful match.
Oh, maybe Dixie Carter returns. We don't know. All that can happen.
Who knows? But this week we had the release of WWE 2K20. I have not played a WWE 2K game in a few years now. Phillip, I know you've partaken in some of the video games. I keep my ear to the streets, and people are not very happy with this 2K release.
No, they're not. I picked it up Monday night. It's some of the gameplay is smoother. There are so many glitches in this thing, man. And yeah, so 2K, their partnership with Ukes, it ended, and so Ukes was really the backbone of getting this thing, like, the finished product, but 2K had a deadline, so they had to hurry up and release it, and they released an unfinished video game. I mean, but that's what patches are for, later on, because there are so many glitches, like, your skin's coming through your elbow pad, and just a whole bunch of other nonsense, and plus the people that paid, like, $130 for the SmackDown edition, they were promised autographs from Edge. Yeah, a lot of people didn't get those, man. And Edge took to Twitter and said, "Hey, I'll make a PO box, send them to me, I'll get you your autograph." So, 2K, they are not appeasing the their fan base. And plus, like, the 2K NBA game, the graphics on that look so much better than this one, man. I mean, now some character models do look good, like a Baron Corbin. I'm not tooting his horn, but like his model's probably one of the best in the game, and Keith Lee is a very close second. But yeah, 2K, they did not hit a home run with this one. 2K19 far better in my opinion.
I have seen screenshots and videos of The Rock. I don't think that is The Rock. It's somebody else. It's not a pretty look.
Yeah, that is not Dwayne Johnson or Rocky Maivia.
But anyways, moving on, someone who might be in a WWE 2K game very shortly will be Jake Atlas. He is the correct APW Universal Champion, and he has signed with WWE. He will report to the Performance Center in January. So, if you see him on your local indie level, see him before he leaves. And, very proud of him. I haven't seen a whole bunch about him outside of the APW auspice, but he wrestles for PWG and some other indies, so might have to go check those out. So, congratulations to Jake Atlas.
Absolutely, man. Talked to him about an interview, too. Look at him now. Congratulations to Jake. The rivalry he had with Jungle Boy wasn't just at the APW shows here in the Bay Area. They spanned to PWG and wherever else they worked throughout Southern California and the North Bay. So I'm incredibly happy for this guy. He's really doing the damn thing, especially his role in the LGBT community. I'm incredibly happy for him. So can't wait to see him this Friday night for All Pro Wrestling Halloween Hell. That's going to be a good show we're going to talk about later on throughout this broadcast.
And lastly, for Outside of the Ring, we have some Alberto Del Rio news. Unfortunately, he is taking on Tito Ortiz. Phillip, what is the latest on this MMA matchup?
So this has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of. This is a belt fight, like a legit belt fight. You know how when a wrestler wins a championship, they keep a replica of that in their house?
Yes, I do.
So, Alberto Del Rio is putting up his replica WWE spinner belt against Tito Ortiz's replica UFC light heavyweight belt. Winner take all. Yeah.
This sounds like, me wrestling my brother for, those plastic championships. It doesn't mean anything.
Brandon, you and I, we have a match for the Bulletcast title. A legit one, guarantee you, better than this fight. Guarantee you already.
I mean, when this match first was announced of Tito Ortiz and Del Rio, I just kind of rolled my eyes. I mean, Tito Ortiz is a legend in MMA, but he's definitely past his prime. Del Rio, he's old in and of himself, and he's not really a fighter. I mean, he's a fighter, but not an MMA fighter. But, I mean, make your money, boo-boo, as you would say.
Absolutely. It's... I laughed. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like a belt fight? Come on, guys. That's... I don't know. Just let's stop talking about it.
And let's move on to Inside of the Ring. NXT was yesterday. Normally we don't talk about NXT. If you want, check out my full NXT report coming next week. on Under the Radar. But some highlights. We had the return of Finn Balor after a triple threat North American Championship match, and Finn Balor comes out after Ciampa and Gargano come out to face off against the Undisputed Era. And I kind of was getting some Bullet Club vibes from Finn Balor's little promo he cut last week, and it seems as though we're getting a Bullet Club Finn back. Maybe we're going to get Prince Balor. Who knows? But he kicks Johnny Gargano in the head. He then hits him with a shotgun dropkick on the outside, does the little gun hand symbols, doesn't interact really with the Undisputed Era, but leaving the door open.
Hey man, the way Finn looked at Adam Cole, they were both Bullet Club guys. They told us it was for life. And that carries out through what incarnations of factions you're in, no matter where you go. Look, man, I know. We talk about FINNXT, but that was Prince Devitt, Prince Balor, whatever we're gonna call him. Fergal went back to his roots. Maybe we get the cool cosplay that he was doing in Japan. I don't know, man, but that look in his eye, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Bullet Club Finn Balor, and I dig it. I love it. The hand signals with the gun. I'm ready for it, man. I'm excited. I'm very excited for this.
I'm surprised he's really able to be doing that, because if you go to AJ Styles back in his day for the Bullet Club, he would do the gun hand symbols when he would, get into the ring. He doesn't really do that. He points his finger out still, so it's kind of the same, but it's not, the actual gun symbol. So I'm surprised that they're allowing Finn Balor to have gun imagery in his character.
Nobody watches NXT, so it's okay.
Okay, but from one Bullet Club leader to another, Kenny Omega, it was talked about on Dynamite this past Wednesday. He goes down to Mexico to take on Rey Fénix for the AAA Mega Champion. And I have not seen the match yet. I kind of want to. It's on Twitch, so it's available if you want to watch it. But Kenny beats Fénix in a very good match, and now he is the AAA Mega Champion.
Yeah, I was wondering, was he going to come out to the ring with it? Because, they have that partnership with AEW. Yeah, man, but I've seen the highlights, and it looked pretty damn good. The return of the best bout machine. It looks like it's upon us, and, of course, getting with Omega did on AEW this past week. It looked like he's getting back to that, so maybe at Full Gear we get Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega for the AAA Mega Championship. I don't know. But congratulations to Kenny Omega, fellow Canadian boy. I got to support my Canadians no matter what.
I'll give you a pass on congratulating Kenny. He's one of the only Canadians that I'll allow.
What about Jericho?
I mean, did you not see him on Dynamite? He was just so annoying. I mean, I think I'm off the Jericho bandwagon.
I mean, we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
But we're going to talk about MLW, something we don't really talk about all that often. MLW, kind of sneaky good. They have, I don't think they have a television contract anymore, but they are doing some big things in their own right. Apparently, they're going to launch a women's division. Phillip, do you have any more on this?
No, I don't. I haven't seen anything else since I put it on the script, immediately after we recorded last week. I know possibly Kylie Ray, who made a return to wrestling at Bound for Glory. We're going to talk about in a couple of seconds here. Maybe she makes an impact over there, pun intended. Yeah, man, I don't know, but MLW, they have been doing some good work. They have the Von Erich sons of Kevin Von Erich, and they have, of course, Austin Aries and Jacob Fatu. They have the Contra Unit, who Contra Unit defeated the Reno Scum for the APW tag titles. I know your favorite tag team, Brandon.
I'm glad that they're with Impact, because maybe that means I'm never going to see them again at APW. Anyway, speaking of Bound for Glory, my boys Reno Scum were there. Kylie Ray was there. Impact's biggest show of the year. Phillip, I didn't watch it. Did you watch it, or do you know more about what happened?
Yeah, I watched it just before we started recording. Yeah, man, it didn't move the needle for me. I'm not gonna lie to you, it really didn't. We have Taya Valkyrie retaining against Tenille Dashwood. What else happened? Tessa Blanchard was in an X Division championship ladder match. Look, she's so much better than this. I mean, we're talking about one of the top women's wrestlers and a top wrestler in the world. WWE, they should have signed her up. You could have had Flair versus Blanchard at WrestleMania something. Like Tessa, there's a revolution going on outside of those walls. Come over to AEW. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe go to WWE. Go to the quote unquote big game in town. I can see Blanchard versus Lynch, main event of SummerSlam, Raw Women's title. I can see stuff like that happening. Flair versus Blanchard, WrestleMania 35. I can see that happening. Tessa Blanchard wins the Women's Royal Rumble. I can see all this happening. Tessa, come on.
Or maybe she goes to MLW because I've heard that they have a women's division now.
Absolutely. Check out her interview with my boy CVV, Chris Van Vliet. Very good stuff.
Another wrestling promotion that's doing some things is NWA, third episode of Power. They have spotlighted Tim Storm, the former NWA champion, and they also announced that they're going to have a pay-per-view or a big event, NWA Into the Fire, December 14th, 2019.
Yes, NWA Power. NWA, it's grown on me. I do like the studio feel. I mean, last week they had Trevor Murdoch, a former WWE Tag Team Champion, on their show. This week we have Eli Drake trying to get a partnership with that Tim Storm. Tim Storm got his mother over. The fans started chanting Mama Storm. Of course, we have Nick Aldis and Camille in their storyline of Camille not speaking. She's Nick Aldis is, if you want to relate it to this, he's Shawn Michaels of the 90s, and Camille's his Chyna, hands down. When Chyna didn't speak, she was just there to do business, But NWA Power, it has really grown on me. It's a nice studio feel, man. It's an hour. It's a power hour. Go check it out, please. They're doing something. They hit me in the feel spot.
Moving on to this day in wrestling, we only have two things to talk about. We have a Raw from 2011, and then we have a SmackDown live from 2017. Phillip, any memories or what exactly happened on these shows?
This Raw 2011, this was the Kevin Nash Triple H rivalry, where it led to a ladder match with Kevin Nash and Triple H. Also, this SmackDown Live from 2017, this is when Jinder Mahal was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and he accepted Brock Lesnar's challenge, and he was about to become the Beastmaster until AJ beat him for the title overseas.
And that's the reason why I forgot about these shows.
Wow! All hail the modern day Maharaja. Fan mail?
It's the fan mail segment, Phillip. I might be the host of this podcast, but I still am not the higher ups. I don't have the passwords and everything to the email, so hit us with the fan mails.
Hey man, when it comes to the Twitter DMs, you can hit those. All right? Yeah. Hootie Hoo 420.
Hootie Hoo.
There we go. Hey guys, I forgot to send this last week, but the way Stephanie announced the draft picks was so formulaic. I mean, your Monday nights are about to stay phenomenal because AJ Styles is going to Raw. Like, come on, what a bloody disgrace. What are some other ones that you guys can think of?
I mean, I didn't like when she was like, oh, SmackDown's going to get eco-friendly with Daniel Bryan.
If you hate your employer, don't tune into Friday Night SmackDown because it's boss time. Yeah. That's the best one. If you're afraid of dogs, don't tune into SmackDown because we have the big dog, Roman Reigns. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, there were just so many parts of the draft, from its delivery, from the war room scenes, to just the selections in general, that I did not like it. And a lot of other people didn't like it either.
Look, that whole war, these guys didn't change their clothes in the war room. They have a freaking robot. Look, you could have had at least legit Fox and USA execs, and then you could have had like Jamie Noble and Fit Finley and Dean Malenko doesn't work there anymore, but like Tyson Kidd. You could have had those guys talking to these execs like, you want this guy and here's why. This is what they bring to the table. This is their skill set. You could have at least done that. Like, come on, guys. Come on.
But that would require too much thought and ingenuity.
Look, it pisses me off, man. All right, Robert Walker. Hey, guys, any early picks for the Royal Rumble? I select Daniel Bryan.
Matthew Riddle.
Oh my god. You know what? The first match I played on 2K20, I was Tommaso Ciampa. I beat the ever-living ish out of Matthew Riddle. Yeah.
And that's why it's a video game and not reality.
Hey man, I know a young boy that thinks he can legit beat a Matt Riddle, so I'll let him take his chances. But
if I could be serious for a moment, shout out Lance Storm. I mean, if Brock Lesnar does hold on to this championship for forever, like he normally does, I'm just kind of looking around at who could actually, be a viable candidate to beat him and be, a fresh matchup. And I mean, Matt Riddle, if we are going to do call-ups, if there are going to be new people coming in from NXT to Raw and SmackDown, I think Matt Riddle winning the Royal Rumble, making a splash and, going up against Brock Lesnar makes a lot of sense because, I mean, let's be honest, now that the roster has been split down the middle, and because of the wild card rule, we don't have fresh matchups. It's just, we just have, stagnant rosters that we've seen before. So there's not really a fresh matchup going into WrestleMania. I think we still have big matches that could be made, but I think we might have to, dip into the outside pool for some matches at WrestleMania.
Absolutely. We're gonna move on to Alfie Lewis. Oh, we have a Drake question. Shout out Drake. Today's his birthday. Shout out Aubrey. Alfie Lewis. Hey guys, what's your favorite Drake song and music video? I feel like we've answered this on this show before, have we?
I feel like we've answered Drake's song, but I don't know if we've answered Drake music video.
Song. I'll throw 0 to 100. I felt like it was going off. Song of 2014, hands down. I'll throw album out there. The Nothing Was the Same. I know people talk about Take Care, and if you're reading this, it's too late. But Nothing Was the Same. 4-time Tuscan Leather. It moved your boy as a young podfather. And favorite music video for me, it has to be the Degrassi one, man. I'm upset. I mean, the Degrassi reuniting. It was great. It was like if the Rembrandts did a 2019 music video to "I'll Be There From You," the Friends theme song, and they had the cast of Friends in there. Yeah, that's basically what it was, And by the way, guys, for the record, I was way too young to be watching Degrassi. I was 8 years old watching this Canadian teen soap opera with teens with all these emotional disturbances. It was that, yeah. Brandon, you?
So we've answered this question before. So I think my favorite song. I think I went back-to-back. Favorite album. If you're reading this, it's too late. And then the new one, favorite music video. It has to be The Motto because it took place right here in the Bay.
There you go. All right. We have Dan. Okay, a new DMer, a new fan mailer. Here we go. What's up, boys? I'm Jack of all trades, his friend. Oh yeah, he emailed us about him last week. AEW excelled yet again this week, but I want to know. How would you describe the relationship between WWE and its fans? Actually, you know what?
Not good.
Somebody DM'd us about that a couple days ago. Let me read that one. So it can be a 2-for-1. This is from Kawam Shakur 90. The relationship between WWE and its fans is like WWE being the ex-girlfriend that you can never break up with because it's like an on and off relationship where you love WWE, but every time they continue to promise you change is coming, but we keep getting the same old ish every week on Raw and SmackDown until you reach your breaking point and want to end that bad relationship. There you go. Sounds about right.
I mean, I'm someone who's actually stepped away and I didn't watch wrestling for a long period of time. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, if I didn't do these podcasts and these shows, I probably wouldn't be watching WWE right now because there's plenty of wrestling out there for me to get my fix.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been there, it's that friend that's always been there for you. It's always going to be there for you, throughout all the good and the bad, throughout the yelling at your TV screen for a red lighting and a mythical creature coming back from a hellacious beatdown from a guy that looks like CrossFit Jesus. It's always gonna be there for you.
I mean, in the past, there's always been one act I can be okay, I might not like everything, but at least I like Daniel Bryan or CM Punk or Becky Lynch or, there's always one storyline that really catches my attention that I want to watch. And right now, I know this is normally a down period for WWE, but I'm just not feeling the product right now.
Speaking of CM Punk, he said if he was going to return, it would take a big bag of money. Blood Money in the Stand 5. You can expect CM Punk. It's confirmed.
I don't know if he would. I think he would not come back for Blood Money because I think he has high standards and he has, a heart. But I mean, if he gets, Blood Money, but not to go to Blood Money, I think he would take it because he's kind of said for the right price, I'll go. And I mean, if he's getting thrown $10 million to work at Brock Lesnar's schedule, he'd be stupid not to take it. So.
Yeah, plus like this whole deal with Saudi Arabia, like they don't pay them per show, like they paid them a whole lump sum at once, so they're just fulfilling the dates at this point. So, if Punk got blood money, he wouldn't necessarily know about it.
Phillip, your thoughts on that blood money parade that they had?
Undertaker got paid quite a bit of money to just kind of stand there, and yeah. Have you seen that Legacy title they released?
I have not.
It looks better than the Universal title. I'll tell you that right now. Looks better than the 24/7 title too. It's just silver, black, and purple. Yep. We got some more fan mails. Jack of all trades. What's the first wrestling pay-per-view you bought as a kid? Unforgiven 2008. You know who was there that night in that arena? Raw commentator, play-by-play guy, Vic Joseph. Yep.
WrestleMania 20, because your boy got his first communion, and I'm a good Christian boy.
Ho! Robert Walker. Humberto Carillio has a big star potential. His match with Ced made me realize how much I love Rollins. Absolutely, man. I love Rollins too. And we're going to talk about Seth and Humberto. Hootie Hoo 420 yet again.
Hootie Hoo.
Mates, honestly, what's... Oh, I guess I have to read it in an Australian accent. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to offend anybody.
I thought he was British.
Nah, he was Australian, right?
Well, he can tell us. He can yell at us next week.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure he was Australian. I can't remember. Anyway, he said, "What's your thoughts on the commentary teams for Raw, SmackDown, and AEW?" Raw, Vic Joseph. He's been doing. Listen to him on Sam Roberts this week. The guy. He's been doing play-by-play stuff for years. CBS Sports, college basketball, football, all that stuff. And the guy. He's really coming to his own as that main chair on Raw. Dio Madden, I thought, all right, let me give this guy 6 months. Give him 6 weeks. The guy, he's improved so much. He really has. And then Jerry Lawler's just got those old grandpa jokes where you're like, okay, Papa, like let's calm down here, SmackDown, Corey Graves and Michael Cole, they're always going to work for me. Michael Cole's been the voice of WWE for the last decade. AEW, Tony Schiavone, I was an infant during the Monday Night Wars, but hearing, hey guys, it's Tony Schiavone, I'm like, oh my god, the feel spot. Excalibur, he does a damn good job. People are crapping on Jim Ross, man. Like, I know he's not Jim Ross in his prime, but, I mean, think about it, long-term Jim Ross, way better than Tony Schiavone overall. I'm not even going to argue that point. But, Jim, he does still have those Jim-isms here and there where it's like, okay, this is what I remember as a child,
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't really hear the question, but after hearing your answer, I kind of figured out what the question was, because I was too busy thinking about this week's Total Divas, where Naomi invited the Iconics over to their house, or her house, and she wanted to Australian the place up. And so she put up what she thought were Australian flags around the house, but actually they're British flags. So Naomi does not know the difference between the United Kingdom, because there's a different flag between England and the United Kingdom and Australia. But anyways, going back to the commentators, I mean, the Raw team is the Raw team. Vic Joseph makes Vince McMahon look like Mauro Ranallo because he barely calls like any wrestling moves by name. But Dio Madden, I'm not a big fan of him. He has kind of improved a little bit. And Jerry Lawler, I mean, I think he's actually been better than what I expected him to be, because when he would do like those one-offs, I thought he was pretty bad. But he's getting better. SmackDown, I love it because it's a two-man booth. Michael Cole is Michael Cole. I mean, he's a robot, but he knows what he's doing. Corey Graves, I think it helps him because he's not on both shows, so he's not overexerting himself. And Corey Graves, I think in small doses is good. And then AEW, a three-man group, which is not what I would want, and technically they're all three play-by-play guys to an extent. I love Excalibur. I think Excalibur might be my favorite commentator in the business. I think he's just fantastic. Jim Ross, yes, he isn't Jim Ross in his prime, but he has, when it's the big match, he can turn it up, and he's good. Tony Schiavone, I think he's been a pleasant surprise. He's been out of wrestling for damn near 20 years, and he's just kind of been plopped back in like nothing happened.
Absolutely. I'm going to run through these real quick. Brightest Day X, our graphic designer on Instagram. First of all, can we agree that Wednesday night is the undisputed champion of the wrestling week? Yes, we can. Absolutely. It tickles me in my feel spot every week. Who has the best V-trigger style knee? Kenny Omega, Buddy Murphy, Matt Riddle, Aleister Black. Well, first of all, man, it's a bicycle knee, and I'll give it to Mandy Rose. Brandon?
I mean, I was thinking of the same thing. I mean, don't underestimate Mandy and her V-trigger, but I mean, it's got to be Kenny. When he starts spamming those V-triggers, especially some of those that he was hitting on Joey last night, ooh, those look nasty.
Okay. We'll agree to disagree. What are the odds that people going to AEW shows now will start licking their tickets and sticking them to their foreheads the way Jericho did last night? I don't know. I don't know, because we all know the dude can get anything over. He can. Brandon, you go to an AEW show, you licking your ticket and sticking it on your forehead?
No, I ain't trying to get no diseases from that ticket.
Wow. And lastly, he says Finn Balor. What? Yes, man. We talked about it. Shout out Prince Devitt doing the damn thing. Brandon, go to those Twitter DMs.
All right, I'm going to open up the Twitter DMs because that's the only responsibility I have on this fan mail segment. And Copenhagen Smith slid in last night, and he asked, do you guys think Roman was added to Team Hogan because they said you need to have more than one black guy, and the Hulkster said, close enough, brother?
Wow. Yes. Yes, I do.
Gotta add a little more color to that palette.
You do, man. Did he send anything else?
That was it. Just a one and done.
A one and done? Oh, no.
Yes.
No, he sent one Saturday. I'm looking at it.
Oh, sorry. See, this is why you're in charge of fan mail.
He said, hey, guys, I didn't get a chance to write this for the last show, but quick question. Whose nostalgia works better for them, Stone Cold or The Rock? I'm gonna go Stone Cold, man. Here's why. Steve Austin still looks like the guy that told us about Austin 316 in '96. He still looks like the guy that showered the McMahons with a beer bath. He still looks like the guy that had his last match at WrestleMania 19. Rock looks like The Rock from 8 years ago, you know? Actually, not really, with that new Brahma Bull tattoo. You know, he doesn't look like the guy that main evented WrestleMania 15. Doesn't look like the guy that teamed up with Mick Foley at WrestleMania 20. You know, he looks completely different.
I agree that I think Stone Cold might be the better nostalgia act, but kind of for different reasons. I think The Rock has kind of come back so much and so often that maybe it's still The Rock. It's still a big deal. I mean, it's a whole lot of fun. I mean, he drew a massive rating for SmackDown that first week. But, you know, Stone Cold has he's picked and chose his spots. He hasn't been there all the time. And besides, you know, these last few months where you kind of seen him 2 times, he hasn't been around for a long time. So I think that's also kind of helped Stone Cold being out of at least the WWE spotlight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, that's going to end the fan mail segment. Brandon, this show is yours once again.
So now we have to, unfortunately, talk about Monday Night Raw. We get Humberto Carillio doing a backstage segment talking about Andrade and blah, 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 blah. We're going to talk about that match a little bit. He shouts out Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins cuts a promo. Then he finds Humberto Carillio, and that sets up a match later on down the line. And then Rollins takes on Carillio. And a really good match, and it puts over Carrillo because, you know, he hasn't been on TV at all, at least on WWE main roster television. He looked like a Power Ranger with that get-up, but a good first showing for the young boy.
Absolutely. You know, the kid, he looked like he can hang with the best of them. I'm interested to see where this guy's going to go moving forward. You know, I think Paul Heyman, you know, he has his roster, man. And we're gonna see guys like Humberto and other people like we've seen, like with Cedric Alexander. We're gonna see them shine. We really are, and I'm very excited to see this other crop of talent get their time on Monday nights.
Yeah, I mean, I think talent like Carrillo and the Street Profits, people who haven't been defined down, we haven't seen them on the main roster television, is very vital to, especially with this whole draft and everything, to really be bolstered up because, I mean, there's only so much you can do with these Apollo Crews and Cesaro and people who we've seen so many times, and we just know they're not going to reach that next level. But speaking of those Street Profits...
Oh, wait, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, man. But look...
But you did.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Where were they at, like, Columbus or Cleveland, Ohio, this past week? Like, that crowd, they were... Like, Carrillo and Rollins went, like, 15 minutes, and it was good. They were... Like, McIntyre and Ricochet, that was really good. And they were just like, oh, yay. Like a golf clap, you know what I mean? Like... If these matches happened in front of an AEW crowd, they would have lost their minds. You know? Like, AEW, Chris Jericho can rip up a $100 bill and throw it in the air, and people are going to pop huge for it. Like they're witnessing Flair and Steamboat in '87. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on with these crowds? Like, I know they're not conditioned to seeing good wrestling like that, because, you know, matches happen like 6 or 7 minutes on Raw, but come on, guys. Like, give a little effort while you're the TV crowd.
Phillip hates Cleveland. Let the record show. I love Cleveland.
Whoa! I do not hate Cleveland. I've been there. It's a fine town. It is a fine town.
Shout out to the Dog Pound.
Roo-roo.
Do you know what the Dog Pound is, Phillip?
You know, it's Roman Reigns' faction, right? Yeah.
No.
Oh.
They're gonna go to Foxborough this week, and they're gonna upset Tom Brady and the Patriots, and they're gonna win. Damn it!
Whoa! TB and I, we have a lot in common. Don't talk about my boy.
I will talk about your boy.
Wow.
Still salty about the Tuck rule. But anyways, the Street Profits take on the OC. Just Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows in the main event. They were very sly, saying that it was going to be like maybe the Street Profits and a mystery partner taking on all three members of the OC, but that didn't actually happen. And the Street Profits end up beating the OC after Kevin Owens, the mystery partner, valet, whatever you want to call him, comes out and helps the Street Profits, and then Montez Ford dances with the baby, and that was the highlight of Raw, was Montez Ford with the baby.
Dude, so is it 2017? Like, are we gonna relive everything from 2017? Like, we just had Shane and KO. We're gonna have KO and Styles, who, by the way, in 2017, despite these guys being absolutely amazing workers and they can tell stories, it wasn't working for me, man. Like, and plus, it was for the United States Championship. Let's not forget, like, the styles just didn't clash. Yes, pun intended. I don't know I don't know, man. Maybe it'll be different this time. Hopefully, but this is again that abusive relationship that WWE has with us. Well, let's rehash something we did a couple years ago. Will it work again? No, it won't. Will it even work? We don't know.
But this time, Kevin Owens is the babyface and AJ Styles is a heel, so it is a little different.
Yeah, yes, he has a stunner. That's the only thing that's different here.
Moving on, we get Drew McIntyre taking on Ricochet as Ric Flair announced that Drew McIntyre was his final pick for his team. Ric Flair was just going all over the place, getting crazy.
Heel Flair is the best Flair. I'm sorry.
He should have turned it down a little bit, but in the end, we get McIntyre versus Ricochet, a really good opening match to Monday Night Raw.
It was, man. It was. You know, Drew McIntyre looked legitimate. You know, even though he hasn't really done anything since he's been a part of Monday Night Raw, he looked legitimate, and that's all you can really ask for. You know, maybe Rick just needs to manage him, give him a little oomph. You know, I don't mind seeing Slick Rick on Monday nights.
We get Cain Velasquez actually debuting on Monday Night Raw. Rey Mysterio comes out, cuts a promo, and he actually got to talk for a little bit before he gets interrupted by Shelton Benjamin, and he gets interrupted by Paul Heyman. He cuts a little promo, then Shelton Benjamin comes out, pushes Rey Mysterio around a little bit, and then Cain comes to the rescue, and he kind of roughs up Shelton a little bit. It did not look very good, and the crowd was kind of poo-pooing on it. I thought Ray and Shelton and Paul were good, but then Cain did not look very good.
Okay, yeah. Here's a couple things. I like how they're tying, like, Shelton, he taught Brock how to wrestle at the University of Minnesota. So if we get a tag team match between Cain and Ray and Brock and Shelton, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be very interested. You know, give Shelton something prominent to do. Now, Cain Velasquez was doing amateur wrestling maneuvers, for those of you that don't know. He went for a high single leg. Look, I'm washed and I'm out of my prime. My high singles look better than that. My takedowns look better than that. Alright? Now, Cain could have done just the Brock routine. A couple Germans and hit a power move and be like, hey, I'm just like Brock. I can do the same stuff. Or if you're going to do amateur wrestling, at least get in the stance and kind of tease it a little bit. Have Shelton shoot, you sprawl, spin around, and put him in a rear naked choke or something, man. This was not good.
I mean, I kind of said that, oh god, the dogs are going off.
The dog pound's running wild, brother.
I think the mailman might be here. That's great. But anyways, you know what, Phillip, you can take, you know what, you always leave, so I'll leave. I'll tell the dogs to shut up, and then you can come back and you can lead the next segment. How about that? Talk about Ruru.
Okay, Rusev. You know, he gets a little bit of comeuppance on Bobby Lashley. Because, you know, if you haven't been watching Raw over the last couple weeks, you know, Lashley's been he's been messing with Ruru's girl. He's messing with his wife. They've been in bed together in Rusev's bed in his home. Bobby's been wearing his robe. You know, they've been massaging each other. Lashley's been massaging Lana's feet. You know, it's an interesting concept that's going on. Anyway, on Raw, you know, Lashley and Lana, they were in a restaurant. Shout out for the out of arena promos. I really dug that out of arena segments. I love those. Let's get more of those on WWE TV or just wrestling TV in general. I love that. Yeah, man. So Rusev, you know, shows up at the restaurant. He starts a kerfuffle, the scuffle with my boy Lashley inside the restaurant. Lana's just yelling at Rusev. And yeah, I don't know where this is going, man. I really don't. You know, it's giving Bobby Lashley something. This is the first time he's been interesting since he's really been back. I know we had his stuff with Lio Rush. He won the IC title, but yeah, this I don't know where this. I mean, we all know where it's going. He's going to a match between Lashley and Rusev, but you know, after the match, what happens? Does Lana just go back with Ruru? Does Lana stay with Lashley? What happens? You know, I'm not sure what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And Brandon, are you back?
Yes, I am back. I wanted to see how long you were going to take. I was going to maybe try to interrupt you, but you were on a roll, so I'll just let you have it.
Hey, there we go, man.
This whole Ruru bit, I mean, I'm not a big fan. I think maybe it's the. I think there are some fans that like it. I've heard some people might be enjoying the whole Ruru Lashley stuff, but yeah, this is just corny, and I don't know who gets over from this. I mean, Rusev looks like a cuck. And then Lashley, I mean, I guess he's doing a good job of being a heel, but yeah, this is not my cup of tea.
Hey, man, in adultery storylines, man, this is the WWE that we live in now.
We get Aleister Black taking on Jason Reynolds, and I kind of called for Aleister Black to maybe be the next big thing on Raw. They're taking a good step in that direction, I guess. Another squash match for Black.
Yep, another squash match for Aleister, Mr. Selena Vega.
We get AOP in another pre-tape promo. I thought this might have been the best one they've done yet. They talked about why Raw signed them and what they're going to do with the tag team division. Just simple stuff, but I thought it was very effective.
Yeah, man, they talked about how Raw signed them because they didn't want SmackDown to have them. I'm like, okay, they didn't want Fox to have them. I like that. I like that very much. You know, this is leading to them having a match, but when? You know, do they debut against the Viking War Raider Experience? Who beat, who did they beat? They beat Hawkins and Ryder, right? Yeah, I think they did. Does this lead to just a rivalry with those guys right off the bat? I don't know. We'll find out.
I don't think they're going to go straight into the tag team title picture, but I think they will kind of get the Aleister Black treatment where they come in and get some squash, maybe like the Viking War Raider Experience. They get some squash matches, they make up, go to the mid card of the tag team division, which is like maybe one or two tag teams, because basically there's like 5 tag teams in the entire division, but I'm excited to see what AOP does. Andrade.
Hold on, sorry. But some squash matches. I mean, the Viking War Raider Experience had like 83 days of squash match. Their squash matches lasted longer than Eric Bischoff's current tenure with WWE. That's how long they were doing squash matches. Yeah, I went there. Sorry, Eric. Sorry, EB. I'm sorry.
Andrade takes on Sin Cara, and he ends up beating Sin Cara with a little bit of help from Zelina Vega. I've kind of talked about them in the past. I kind of hope that Andrade just kind of gets clean wins. Yes, I know he's a heel, and Zelina is his cohort, and she's going to get involved. But I think for like a Sin Cara level opponent, I think Andrade should be able to just put him away.
He got clean wins over Rey Mysterio.
I mean, I guess he did, but like the last match he had with Ray, I think Zelina got kind of involved a wee bit as well.
Saying he got a couple clean wins over Ray. He needed help, a little help, because Sin Cara, he's a bigger guy, looking kind of flabby too, if I might add. So it just kind of made sense.
And then we have some 24/7 shenanigans. Sunil Singh is your new 24/7 champ, pinning R-Truth, and then R-Truth tries to get it back, but then he pins the wrong Singh brother. And yeah, so apparently, Bollywood and that whole culture is hilarious to Vince McMahon in WWE.
Did you ever think in the year of our Lord 2019, the Bollywood boys, the Singh brothers, one of them would win a title?
I mean, I know when I saw them on the Cruiserweight Classic that they were destined for big things, and here they are.
3 years in the making. This was long-term storytelling by WWE. I know we don't credit them for doing that, but look where we are now.
Maybe AEW could be in the department of long-term storytelling, but we don't know quite yet. But let's get into the AEW Dynamite recap. They kick off with the semifinal match for that tag team tournament. No entrances, no pre-match hype package, nothing, just straight into it. The Lucha Bros take on the Private Party, and the Lucha Bros win in about 12 minutes. I thought it was an entertaining, high-octane, high spot. I mean, you could even say this is a spot fest, I think. It was kind of a little too much in that direction. It was a little sloppy at times, but the crowd ate it up. So, I mean, it's not my style. It's not, my favorite type of match, but the crowd did eat it up, so I can't complain too much, I guess.
I mean, look, it was spot fest galore, but as Peter Rosenberg would say, it was mage, it was majeur. I enjoyed it, man. During wrestling shows, I usually pick up my phone and scroll the Graham events or the Twitter. Did not do that for AEW Dynamite. That means they had me. They have my attention. Yeah, man. I mean, this was great. Private Party. I love these guys. They're charismatic. They're young. I thought maybe they upset the Lucha Bros like they did the Young Bucks. I kind of thought that was going to happen. But the Lucha Bros, they got the job done. I'm surprised Pentagon didn't do his little crip walk during the match. I always enjoy that. But I'm excited for these guys. And who are they facing next week, Brandon?
Well, they are facing SCU just like I predicted. SCU takes on the Dark Order. We actually get a little video package on the Dark Order, but SCU takes on the Dark Order and defeat them to go on to the finals. Definitely not a as good or maybe not as high spotty of a match as the Lucha Bros and Private Party match. Maybe they lost the crowd a little bit, but still a good match in the end, and the Dark Order getting this big push out of the gate suffers their first loss to SCU, but haven't been the biggest fan of Dark Order. I just don't think they've clicked as a character. The wrestling's okay, but I think with a gimmick like that, you really need to have a reason behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't know that much about the Dark Order. I don't know what the bigger guy's name is, but the small guy, the bald guy, Stu, don't call him Dick Grayson. I was like, okay, I could kind of get behind this guy. What do you think about Stu? Don't call him Dick Grayson.
I mean, I think him and Evil Uno, that's the other guy's name. Just putting it out there. But I think they're, I like them. I think they're a really good tag team. But as I said, I mean, I think just not only them, but other people on this roster. I think there needs to be character development. There needs to be a reason for why they're doing this. I mean, we saw them have a promo package on Being the Elite or something AEW related, when they first debuted after Double or Nothing. But besides that, I really haven't seen a whole lot from them. So, I mean, in ring, they're not as spectacular as Lucha Bros, Private Party, and the Young Bucks, but they have had fantastic matches with the Young Bucks going back to their PWG and before those days. So I know they can hang, they can wrestle.
Absolutely. Did you get the Dick Grayson reference?
Yes, I did.
There we go.
But during this match, we had the Inner Circle minus Jake Hager up in a skybox. One thing I didn't like about this match and kind of AEW in general is they're doing a lot of cutaways, almost kind of jarring. It kind of gives me a headache, and they're doing cutaways right before a big move happens and you miss the big move. And Phillip, your thoughts on the cutaways? I know we were down on the WWE fan cutaways, but now that AEW's doing it, you gotta be both ways. You gotta say you don't like this, right?
The cutaways during the match, yeah, I was not a fan of it, man. I'm there for the in-ring action, and then you could see the majority of the crowd was just looking at Jericho in the Inner Circle. That's not very good. But anyway, breaking news here: Randy Couture, the guy that Brock Lesnar beat for his first UFC win, he suffered a major heart attack. Hopefully, he makes a speedy recovery.
I saw that on Wrestling Observer. Big Dave, your boy.
Uh,
I saw it. I saw it on the internet before we did the podcast. So hopefully, it said that he's going to be able to recover, and he's intensive care right now. But it seems as though he's going to be fine. Apparently, when he suffered the heart attack, he walked to the hospital like a badass.
Hey, dude, sidebar, but Ronald Reagan, when there was an assassination attempt on him, the bullet did hit him, and he just walked into the hospital like nothing happened. And the dude was like 70 years old. So, yeah.
Getting back to the wrestling, Cody comes out with Tony Schiavone. He was going to cut a promo. He said he had a big, major announcement for us, but we didn't actually get to hear what that was because Jericho and the Inner Circle were being annoying. They had air horns, and then for some reason, Jericho, who was just in a skybox, was able to grab a microphone. Don't know how that happened, but he taunts Cody, calls him a millennial little bish, and then Cody threatens to go up to the Inner Circle, but then Jericho says, "Oh, there's only one of you at four of us," but then he gets Dustin to come out, then he gets MJF to come out, and then the big pop of the night is he gets DDP to come out. So now DDP has jumped ship to AEW.
DDP.
And then there's a big old brawl.
Look, did you ever think you'd see DDP on a wrestling show in TNT in 2019? No, you didn't. I popped huge for it. He said, it's me, it's DDP. I'm like, oh, snap. I thought he was going to drop a diamond cutter or something, but, this was cool. I did like the line where Cody said, this isn't like the former wrestling company we came from. This isn't an invisible line. I can easily come up there and kick your ass. I did like that.
I did enjoy this. I thought this was the highlight of the show. I mean, I've been kind of asking for more promos and stuff like this. Yes, Cody didn't cut a 5-minute promo or anything like that, but I like the angle, especially with there's plenty of wrestling on this show besides this, segment. So you have this to kind of break up the monotony of match. And it did get over big, and I kind of like that. There was I don't know what the word I'm saying. Like, there wasn't complete security and everyone was just blocked off before the thing even happened, like in WWE. But the guy who had who Jericho stole the crutch from, I did notice, like, after the fact he stole the crutch from him, he was just, like, being security and, like, walling everybody off. So that was a little negative note on that segment. But overall, I thought it was great, and Cody is getting over as a babyface, and I was quite surprised at how loudly people were booing Chris Jericho in this segment.
That's just we're going to talk about Jericho a little bit later on in the show also, but that's just the guy who's been in this business for almost 30 years. He knows how to make people hate him even when he's the biggest star the company has, and he legit is probably one of the most over guys the company has. He just knows how to work a crowd, man. That's a lost art in wrestling. Guys will try to be heels, but they'll get cheered to the masses. And Jericho, he makes himself get booed, and I like that. I really do.
Another group that can work over the crowd, and that is the Young Bucks. They take on the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy in their corner. Good, solid match. I mean, nothing really to talk about. But after the fact, the Young Bucks accepted the challenge from Santana and Ortiz to face off at Full Gear on November 9th. I don't know why they just couldn't have done this last week, but we got it.
By God, we got it. Orange Cassidy's great. I love this guy. I really do. He's just so nonchalant with everything he does, and it makes for a great gimmick. Did he turn heel? Because he attacked the Young Bucks.
I don't know if he turned heel. I mean, there's very few heels, I think, in AEW, which might be an issue going on later down the line. But I think I'm really excited to see what Orange Cassidy does. Hopefully he's not just like the Best Friends manager, because I think he could be more than that.
He can be more than that. He had an amazing match with Marco Stunt once at an indie show. Go check it out. Phenomenal.
we got Kenny Omega taking on Joey Janela in their second match. If you haven't seen their hardcore match at AEW Dark a few weeks ago, definitely go and check that out. These two guys had another spectacular match. The chemistry these guys have, you probably wouldn't think it, with Kenny being the big Japanese star and then Joey Janela being the garbage wrestler that he is. Fantastic match between these two guys, and then Kenny ends up getting the win. We talked a little bit about it earlier, that maybe Kenny's starting to get his mojo back.
The AEW Dark match, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen AEW Dark at all. Is it any good, Brandon?
I have the only Dark show I've actually watched like in full was the one with Omega and Janela, because I heard such good things about it. But I enjoy it. I mean, the matches are good. The only thing, there is the character development. There is like some promos and stuff that I've been asking for, which I don't understand why they have it on Dark and not on the main show. So if I know there's a lot of wrestling out there, but I would definitely, it does get you excited for Dynamite on Wednesday, being that Dark airs on Tuesday.
There you go, a little teaser, a little pregame. I do like that. But what happened? What else happened, man?
Well, I was just about to get to that we actually had another video package. We had some character development, thank God. We get Britt Baker talking about her coming from Pittsburgh and being a dentist, or being a doctor, dentist, whatever the hell you call her. But she comes out to face Jamie Hayter, and Britt Baker comes out with Steely, whatever his name is, the Steelers mascot. She has a Steeler logo on the back of her coat, and she goes back and forth with Jamie for a little bit, but then in the end she locks on the lockjaw for the win. Good for someone actually wins in their hometown.
Did you call her a doctor dentist?
I said, yeah, why not?
Adam Cole made an appearance on AEW Dynamite, ladies and gentlemen. The first person ever to make an appearance on NXT and Dynamite in the same night. He's pulling a Richard Rude, and I loved every minute of it.
Something I also loved was the main event of AEW. Jon Moxley took on Pac, whatever the hell his name is.
It's Pac, please.
I know it's Pac, but they keep calling him Pac, so whatever. We get a TV time limit draw. So the first of its kind for AEW. They go back and forth. I was kind of thinking, what the hell is the finish going to be? And it is kind of a cop-out finish, but it does establish that there will be draws going forward. And Moxley was not a big fan of it at the fact he almost had Pac at the end. Gives the referee a DDT for good measure. And Moxley kind of mouthing off to the camera. That's the final segment, the final scene of AEW Dynamite.
Yes, it is. I do like the time limit draws. I think it gives it that sports-like feel. Like, oh my God, like let's go into overtime. I want to see these guys finish. I think that's gonna be something I like, because they've done it that was like the second time they've ever done that. So it's not too bad. If they do it like over and over, then it's gonna become a problem. But I want to see them go into a draw once, and then they have like a little bit of TV time remaining, so they hit like a 5-minute overtime. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, this is the first time they've done it on TNT, so I'm not going to complain just yet. It is a little bit of a cop-out, but hopefully this doesn't. Hopefully, like the main event, like the time limit main event, that doesn't happen a whole lot. Just because I think people see it for what it is. I think the Darby Allin time limit with Cody definitely worked because it told a coherent story. This one, it was good action, but I think people really saw for what it was. But moving on from a great show in Dynamite, I don't know if I'd say it was a great show, a really good show, to a show that's definitely going to draw some controversy. Let's do our predictions.
You gotta hype it up, man. You gotta hype it up.
We're doing our predictions. Next Thursday on Halloween is Blood Money 4, otherwise known as Crown Jewel. We don't have every match in front of us, but we're just going to talk about the big matches. Of course, the title is not on the line because we wouldn't have blood all over our title. So, Crown Jewel, the Universal Championship, Seth Rollins versus The Fiend in a Falls Count Anywhere. There must be a winner no matter what, so they are going full-fledged on this. The Firefly Funhouse is going to make its return on Friday. Seth Rollins on Raw, The Fiend on SmackDown. I assume Seth Rollins wins, but what do you think is going to happen, Phillip?
I didn't talk about this last week, but how the hell did he find the Firefly Funhouse? That's really what I want to know. Like, I thought this was supposed to be in Bray's mind, but we can get into logistics like that later. Look, if Bray Wyatt loses, then they've ruined The Fiend. That's all I can say. this character that was hot. He's been hot for the last couple months. I mean, he decimated Finn Balor so much that he had to turn into Fergal Devitt down on NXT and be a badass. So look, Bray Wyatt needs to win the Universal Championship. He needs to. It's okay for Seth to lose because, I think Seth's turning heel in the end anyway. Like, he's starting to have those tendencies again. Like, I can see it. It's going to be a slow turn, but that's eventually what's going to happen. And him losing to The Fiend is what's going to put him over the edge.
Well, The Fiend and all this build-up and all these different Firefly Funhouse segments, we haven't really seen him talk explicitly about the Universal Championships, and I think, I might be reading too much into this, but maybe the story that Bray Wyatt wants is that he's trying to pull, Seth Rollins' Fiend out of him, so he just wants him, Seth Rollins to become evil and be like the Fiend, and I think Seth Rollins will win in the end. I think it's going to be maybe not exactly the same as Hell in a Cell, but I think it's going to be similar to where just Seth kind of just snaps and he can't put the Fiend away, so then he has to get to this deep dark place, and he goes there, and maybe this time he doesn't snap out of it. Maybe he continues to be evil Seth Rollins. I think a Seth Rollins heel turn, I think at this point is probably the right direction, but as I said last week, I just don't know who that other babyface is to fill in. I mean, Kevin Owens is there. I think he's been damaged, but I think Seth will turn heel. Maybe not especially here at Crown Jewel, but I think further on down the line we're going to see more development of the heel Seth Rollins.
Absolutely.
Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
The WWE Championship, the first. Well, I don't even know. What do you think the main event of this show is going to be, Phillip?
Oh, Brock's in the main event, hands down. You already know.
All right, so this will be the main event according to Phillip. We have the WWE Championship, Brock Lesnar, the champ, taking on Cain Velasquez. I don't know why the title is on the line, but Brock trying to avenge his loss to Cain all those years ago, almost to the date. Does he do it?
I think that was a year, that was 9 years ago yesterday was the anniversary of that fight. Look, man, if they put the title on Cain, I'm gonna be upset, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. The match probably isn't gonna even have a decisive finish anyway. It's gonna be some kind of kerfuffle finish where Brock walks out champ. That's my prediction.
I think I'm gonna go in the same direction as you. I think Brock will retain. I don't know how, but I mean, if the reports are true that Cain has signed a lucrative long-term deal with WWE, I don't think they want to have him lose right away. I think Cain might win I don't know if he'd win the title in the end, but I would see him beating Brock maybe once. I mean, maybe this is the time, but maybe Brock can't put Cain away, and it's kind of like the Seth Rollins Fiend finish where he just gets disqualified because he just goes over the edge. But who knows? We get the other attraction match: Braun Strowman taking on Tyson Fury. Fury will be fighting in Saudi Arabia further on down the line in a boxing bout. Usually these athletes, they go over against the wrestlers, but it is Braun Strowman, very protected. Who you got and why?
And plus, Braun just assaulted Tyson while he was training, and Tyson twisted his ankle or whatever. Look, Tyson has that big fight coming up in Saudi Arabia later on this year. I think the lineal boxing heavyweight champion Tyson Fury beats Braun Strowman in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I do. And
I will go with Braun Strowman winning. Not really how, maybe Tyson doesn't really care. He's not a big mark for himself, and he's I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to go with Braun Strowman to be different. I know that the title's not on the line, but I really don't care about this show. I have, many, many feelings about this show. But anyways, let's get to positives, and let's talk about APW Halloween Hell coming up tomorrow, Phillip.
Yes, let's talk about it. All Pro Wrestling Halloween Hell. Ingrid B. Lacey, I think this is a middle school in Pacifica, California, not the usual Pekeli Event Center that they run. Brandon and myself will be in attendance for Halloween Hell tomorrow night. If you see us come up, say hello. And I have an interview that I'm doing tomorrow night. Not going to tell you with who, but that will be up Monday. So we have J.R. Kratos, the God of War, going up against Davey Boy Smith Jr., the son of the late great British Bulldog, Mike Miller, good friend of the show, good personal friend. He's managed J.R. Kratos. They have had a falling out, so Mike Miller has been on a tour to find somebody to finally beat the God of War and slay him. And I think Davey Boy Smith could be the guy. Also, we have Cody Vance going up against Keita Murphy. Keita Murphy is basically Kel Mitchell if he was a wrestler. He has orange soda. He's all that. You know what I mean? Also, we have Contra Unit going up against Rock and Roll Express. Yes, Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton. They tore up the territories back in 1989, and all the way in 2019, they're going to get the job done, and they could become the All-Pro Wrestling World Tag Team Champions. Also, we have Boy Slick Rade, the bad boy. He is defending his Gold Rush Dynamite Division Championship against a mystery opponent. Don't know who that's going to be. Levi Shapiro, the All-Pro Wrestling Worldwide Internet Champion, another friend of the show. He's going up against Rusev's best friend, Warpig, Jody Christopherson. That's going to be an interesting one. Not to mention, we have the world's freshest tag team, also friends of the BC. They're going up against the bad boys of Dominic Texteria. And, oh my god, I forgot the guy's last name. Derek Slade. There we go, Derek Slade. And then we have young boy Charlie. He's going up against Ivon, and they are going up against in a triple threat Steven Tresario for the APW Junior Heavyweight Championship. And lastly, we have wrestling personified Rick Luxury going up against Papa Esco, King Fat Boy. You don't want to miss it, and I'm not sure what Jake Atlas is doing on this show, but you don't want to miss it. APW, you never regret spending your money on a ticket. They do great work. Marcus Mack has really made the Bay Area wrestling scene thrive. Brandon, you excited?
Oh yeah, so excited. I just can't hide it. We have Rock Girl Express actually going to be on AEW next week to present the Tag Team Championship. So, Rock Girl Express going to be at APW,
Yes.
then going to be at AEW. In a matter of a week.
There you go. My boy Bimbo Jimbo, James Kincaid, he is once again calling the action for APW. I'm so happy for him. We're going to see him, our good buddy Baby Huey and Baby Huey's brother Tommy, and also Caesar Black, a former manager in APW. He's also going to be calling the action with Jimbo, so I can't wait to see that, talk to those guys. Brandon, take away the rest of the show, man.
Well, I'm going to throw it right back at you because it is Superstar Spotlight time. Phillip, who is your Superstar Spotlight of the week?
Oh man, let me really look back throughout the week that was in pro wrestling. Ooh, oh man, so much happened here. You know what? I'll have to give it to Kenny Omega, the Le Champion of AAA down there in Mexico. Looks like Omega's finally getting his groove back. He could become the best bout machine once again. But he got to win over Phoenix, got to win over Joey Janela. Let's hope to see if he can get a win over Big John Mox coming up in a couple weeks at Full Gear in Baltimore, Maryland for AEW's fourth pay-per-view event of the year.
And I'll keep it in the AEW, the Elite family with Cody. I thought Cody had a fantastic segment with Chris Jericho. He didn't talk a whole lot, but he definitely got himself over. I was very surprised on just how over he was as a babyface. I was even maybe more surprised at how heated or how hated that Chris Jericho was. So I'm really excited for that Full Gear match between Cody and Jericho. Still don't think Cody's winning, but I think it's going to be a hell of a match. Now moving on to the promo pick of the week, my pick. We're going to give TNA Impact some love. Coming off of Bound for Glory next week, they have their debut episode on Access TV. Sami Callihan will take on Brian Cage for the Impact World Championship, and they did a little segment here. It's on the YouTube if you want to go check it out. Sami Callihan threatens Brian Cage's wife and kids. I know, definitely going in the a deep, dark direction. Maybe not my cup of tea, but that's what's going on in the world of Impact Wrestling.
First of all, let me talk about their Bound for Glory match. Brian Cage, I know he's the Swolverine, but him using the claws in the match, I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of corny and cheesy. What are we doing? And also, Cage's performance in this promo, not a big fan. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know, I think he is an incredible talent, but maybe he just had an off night on the mic or what. I haven't really seen much of his promos, but yeah, this did not move me. Sami Callihan, he's a sadistic SOB, and he works in any situation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Brian Cage and Sami Callihan. I think Cage might need to like lose some weight. I think if he just dropped like 30, 40 pounds of that muscle, I think it definitely would help. And I mean, when you're that big, moving like that, you're just it's only a matter of time till something snaps or something gets hurt.
Have you seen him when he was like thin? When he didn't look like that, it's unworldly.
So we'll just find somewhere in the middle.
Yes. My closed match pick of the week: Chris Jericho takes on Evan Bourne. Yes, Matt Sydal. WWE Fatal 4-Way. This is a big throwback. June 20th, 2010. This was the only Fatal 4-Way pay-per-view they ever did. Thank goodness for that. Yeah, man. So this was Chris Jericho, his slow-talking persona, discussing how, he was always the hot topic of the WWE, and now there's a new one in Evan Bourne, and how he's going to silence Evan Bourne, and how he's going to show Junior how to get things done in the WWE. Brandon, thoughts on the match?
I mean, a good match. When he texted it to me, when he said Chris Jericho, Evan Bourne, Fatal 4-Way, I was like, oh, okay, who are the other two people? And then I forgot that Fatal 4-Way was a pay-per-view show, so good on me on that. Chris Jericho, as we said, this is kind of one of the heights of his career, and this is kind of like the in-between period where he's like still athletically gifted, he's still kind of in the prime of his career, and then he still has the character, and so, maybe one of the best eras of Jericho just because he can do everything at this point in his career.
He really could, man. He was, you know what I noticed? Tessa Blanchard is basically the female Jericho. I mean, she does a code breaker. I like how on Impact they said it was a code breaker, not how on Raw it's the recoil. I don't like that. She does a triangle drop kick like Jericho. She does the butterfly backbreaker like Jericho. I won't be surprised if she throws out a lion salt or a lion tamer eventually in the near future. But yeah, man, Jericho, he can still do all these moves for the most part. He's really slowed it down. Not just because of his age, but because of the character development and the brawling style of the Painmaker. So, I mean, yeah, this was good. It was fun. Evan Bourne's airborne, the shooting star press, that perfect 180-degree rotation that Evan Bourne, Matt Sydal, has always been known for. He does it to the back of Jericho and he gets the 1-2-3.
All right, that'll do it for us for today. Phillip, you can close it out because you got this down pat. You can say the closing gimmick very, very quickly and softly, much better than I would have done.
Oh, wow, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, follow us on Twitter at Bulletcast, Instagram, The Bulletcast, YouTube channel, The Bulletcast, email us at Bulletcast2, as in the number 2, sweetswet@gmail.com. We're on 99.9 FM KW in Watsonville every Friday night from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and Patreon. Not to mention, we are on Pro Wrestling Tees. Please go buy a shirt. Only one has been purchased by yours truly, the elite champion of the BC, myself. Brandon, thank you for taking over the reins, man. You did a hell of a good job. Hey, this could become a permanent gig for you. You never know. But next week, we will be doing a live watch-along while we record the BC of Crown Jewel, Blood Money, and the Sand 4. You don't want to miss it. Brandon, I will see you tomorrow night. All Pro Wrestling, Halloween Hell. You don't want to miss any of it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the BC. We will talk to you next time.
When your face is in the dirt, you'll know your death is what I seek.
This has been the Bulletcast. Thank you for listening.